Oh, well, hello, my wonderful, beautiful roses, the wonderful, beautiful Maverick. I'm the Maverick, and this, my friends, is the next part in one of Izuku's Lagiacrus. This is part 7. Well, you see, last time, part 6, what if Izuku was the Lagiacrus? Basically, we got the story of Tenko and Hinata. That's because we're including Naruto in this because I can. And also including One Piece into this because I can, because devil fruits and hockey. And what we're soon to learn... Get out of my freaking drink. Stupid bug. I swear this bug is like destined to try to get in my freaking drink. Sure. That just piss me off to no end. Or do both. Yeah. Son of a... Anyways, basically, we basically learned about devil fruit powers, devil fruit awakening, hockey, 3 different types, which technically it's 4 types because armament, there's technically 2 different ways you can really apply it. So I guess technically 3.5 different types of hockey. Basically, we learned about devil fruits because, well, in the Hyuga compound, which, Tenko was invading and, raiding, which is basically how he met up with Hinata. Basically, there were 2 devil fruits. And, looking on the list of devil fruits, the 2 devil fruits in the little wooden chest that was in the Hyuga compound were the Suna no Mi, the devil fruit that gave Crocodile his powers, and the other devil fruit being the Ito no Mi, the devil fruit that gives Doflamingo his powers. Basically, it was pretty, end decision that Tenko would get the Tsunami because, well, the dry out ability basically would be a very good positive replacement for, Tenko's current decay quirk. Because at least with the dry out ability, he'll have some control over what, goes down and what doesn't. Jesus. Yeah. Perfect bug. And another thing, basically, Tenko, as the years went by, figured out about, like, the whole reason why his hockey-covered fist would sometimes ignite as an ability that, Tenko and Izuku ended up coming up with the name Red Hawk. And soon, as Tenko and Hinato were getting recruited on to the, to the homeboys, their underwater base. Homeboys, home dogs. Basically, Tenko was trying to get Izuku to train him how to, perfect the Red Hawk technique. And, basically, in order to continuously, keep up with all this, hockey stuff, it would be a certain something that Tenko would have to specialize himself in. At least that's what he felt he would have to do. And, to Hinata's sort of surprise, it's a little something that he calls a gear second. Basically saying, his base power is, the first gear. So, there's gear second, gear third, and then gear fourth. So, basically, right now, he would be, at the point where he could, get into gear second. Or, as I like to say, gear segundo. So, yeah. He's basically already into gear second right now. He's been mastering, different gears so that he can keep up with his, the professionality of his Red Hawk power. And also, it might also go to, come and help him with his Tsunami things. And different, things to do with other types of hockey. Like observation, or, conqueror's hockey. Which, the more and more Izuku would actually train with Tenko, the more and more he would actually, Tenko would actually begin to tap into that seemingly near bottomless well of power of conqueror's hockey. Seems he has a very strong will, Tenko does. Well, basically, as that whole thing going on, now, to day by day, if she's not, doing anything to improve herself, what she will be doing occasionally is she'll look back into the past to see what might be going on in the present. And what I mean by this is like what is going on now, like within the Yuga compound? Have they forgotten about me? Do they still remember me? And if they still remember me, are they still looking for me? Like, Hinata's being a little bit paranoid. Which turns out not so much rightfully so, considering a little something of her own that she has. I think I might actually have forgotten it, I don't know. But I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure I did indeed look it up earlier to get the name down. Me. Yes, I remember now. She has actually done herself a little helping hand in the way of, well, you're not just realizing that it's not just the devil fruit powers and hockey with, well, Tenka. Like, technically the gears do involve hockey, or more or less a thing that is hockey, or at least hockey related. But, he also has, well, technically, the gears do indeed have something to do with, I think, have something to do with Red Hawks. So, but basically, what she does indeed realize is that Tenko's making himself so multi-fast, multiple facilities, like however you say the damn word. So many different things, like, got the different types of hockey down, and he's like, I got the whole Red Hawk move, and he, even is like getting into the gears. Basically perfected Gear 2nd, and is getting pretty adept at Gear 3, but hasn't even barely ever tried, even attempted Gear 4. He's staying the hell away from that shit for now. Yes. I got 2 down, but what about the third one? Come on. Think about it. Think. You know what? I'm gonna cheat again. by using the interwebs. Ah, I see. I think I got it. Okay. Basically, you guys all know Zoro. Now he's like a specialist in the three sword style. Well, Hinata was actually getting into swords because, she kind of abandoned the whole, gentle fist thing mostly. Like, the only thing she's really using it for now, as she's, getting into the whole sword thing, is like, maybe siphoning off an air palm through a sword to make the strikes extra more impactful. Maybe even fusing the air palm with the air palm with like some hockey, like Iron Man hockey, to increase the potency of the whatever the shit. So basically, there's three swords that I've just now gotten the names down. Basically, it's been a wild trek, so basically, whenever Hinata turned the ship to string, she took the shit. And so did Tenka. Like, they looted them for all that they're worth. Just, took that shit. And it's also been helping our, big boys, get their worth. Like, be able to purchase goods and, bling bling themselves all their new, trailblazing and shit and whatever the frick they want. The frackadoodle, snickerdoodle. Basically, but instead of, the name of Zoro's swords, these have been swords that have, been around the globe, and, our names, and pretty much, these are swords which you hear the name, and you automatically know what the person is talking about whenever they say the name. The three swords, well, there were actually several swords, but these were three in particular swords, which kind of, almost like a Zanpakuto, kind of called out to her. And possibly even with her chakra, could have, channeled the power of these swords, like a Zanpakuto. Actually, exactly like that. Like, normally they were just swords that, you could use, but, with the power of chakra and with the power of hockey, and maybe even being able to mix the two together, it kind of works with a Zanpakuto in a way. Like a makeshift Zanpakuto. But none of these swords are actual Zanpakuto. I actually had to get creative with this because I wanted to. And the first sword, out of these three that is to be mentioned, that I shall mention, is yoru. Yoru. Not whatever the frick I just said. Yoru, basically. Yeah. And you guys don't know what yoru is? It's Mihawk's sword. Basically, I guess, his most basic sword, because I was looking up basically the name of Mihawk's sword. Like, whatever his most basic one is. I guess yoru. Or, yeah, either Euro or it's probably Yoru. So yeah, basically Mihawk, the most skilled swordsman in all of One Piece, his sword. Okay, that already seems a little bit unfair, but whatever. The second sword out of the three that basically are her favorites is basically, the full name. She doesn't actually call it the full name. Well, sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't, but it's mostly known by her called kusanagi, because it is the kusanagi blade that basically Orochimaru liked to use a lot for some reason, in Naruto. So Yoru, basically Mihawk's sword, and kusanagi, or the kusanagi blade, basically what Orochimaru liked to use to try to kill people a lot. Or just maybe a couple times, whatever. And the third one being tetsusaiga. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about whenever I say tetsusaiga, it's basically Inuyasha's sword from the anime or manga, whatever, Inuyasha. He's basically the main character. Pretty much ish. Like, it's him and then this girl who can apparently use as well to, like, time travel. Feudal Japan bullshit. So basically, Yoru, Kusanagi, and Tetsusaiga. These three swords were some of the swords collected by the pirate group. And, well, these three ones she decided she especially liked. Now, why only three? Which she would technically focus on the most. Why only three am I mentioning? Well, you know how Zoro is master of the three-sword style? Yeah, Hinata's actually... She knows it's going to be, like, for different people, it's like it might be easier for some than it is for others, but, basically mostly everybody has a good amount of difficulty mastering the three-sword style. But, Hinata's going to try to use Yoru, Kusanagi, and frick. I'm gonna need half. Tetsusaiga. So basically, Yoru, Kusanagi, and Tetsusaiga. are basically going to be the ones that she uses for this three-sword style. Yeah, she decided that she wanted to kind of, be like Tenko, you know, you know, basically, kind of be her own little special thing besides the special things she already has, like the hockey stuff and her devil fruit power, and the fact that she already has the Byakugan. But they're trying to be the best that they can be. And that's whenever there's a whole thing brought up, actually. Because, don't think the other people on the ship don't realize that she's trying to do the three-sword style with these three different swords. Yoru, basically, Yoru, Kusanagi, and tetsusaiga. And basically, Izuku is actually starting to think, just because, like, a good majority of what used to be the normal surface world is now, like, sunken, doesn't mean they haven't made some, new advancements to make up for that. Which means, yes, there still is, like, a lot of, like, ninja elements, more than ninja are. So that means there still is some of the exams. And basically, being at the skill level she's at, she'd basically already be considered, at least Genin. So, yeah, you can kind of just use that as, like, a pass-off. Like, technically, at the skill level that she's already at, you could already consider her a Genin. And, same thing for Tenko. He's, pretty damn good. Pretty much, perfected your second and is pretty damn adept in your third. But hasn't, tested the waters with Gear 4th yet. He's trying to keep his body in one piece, thank you very much. Well, except for, the Tsunami stuff. That's a given, that shit's gonna get crazy with that. So, yeah. So, basically, what ends up happening is Izuku actually does tell everybody about the fact that, there still are some good amount of settlements that are still up. So, and one of those settlements being the building for, like, a Chunin exams. Basically, skipping the whole written test and Forest of Death. Because, surviving out here for as long as you probably have, you probably do have good survival skills and ninja know-how already. So those two things are pretty much made non-factors. So it's pretty much preliminaries and then actual exam. The written thing and Forest of Death cut out of the equation. But hey, at least with this, the news that Izuku has for, everybody, at least for this, Hinata will be able to, re-meet Naruto, and actually figure out that his name is Naruto, because she, dragged off by her, family, not able to, even say thank you for, being defended by the bullies, like, at least, like, from the bullies, whatever. Blech. At least now she would be able to say thanks, and, ask his name. Anyways, so yeah. Actually, So Izuku ends up figuring out it's like squads of 3 that enter. You know. And I actually would indeed say that Izuku, in order to get into the spirit of the Chunin exams, he wouldn't try to get in my freaking mouth. He would indeed try to make some makeshift headbands for Hinata and Tenko. However, these would kind of have carved in them the symbol of basically what happens whenever you shoot a portal gun. Like little circular rotation. That's basically what would be on the headband. A little circular rotation portal that happens whenever you shoot with the portal gun in Portal 1 and Portal 2. That's the sign. Because, they're in the Aperture base, they basically made that their main headquarters by now. Because, everything's been done and did. So, yeah. And basically, they're going to call their entire base just to get even more into the spirit, the land of Aperture. Basically, the land of Aperture. Izuku's just doing the best that he can to get everybody in the spirit of the occasion. Nah. And Izuku's like, oh, there has to be like a 3rd team member. Ah, yes. This indeed does create a problem. Yes, indeed, it does indeed cause a problem. Quite the problem, actually. Am I gonna run myself out of this hole? Well, technically, the way everything's working around, Mina's quirk just, if he uses it regularly, it isn't really all that dangerous. Sure, it will catch you in a bind, but that really isn't all that dangerous. Unless he's packing some mana behind it. That's whenever it gets lethal. So they just have Mineta go in as the middleman. Right next to these 2 heavy hitters right here. But Mineta, it doesn't exactly mean Mineta's gonna sink the ship. And then they gotta think about the Jonin Sensei. And Izuku's really excited because that means he gets to make a Jonin Sensei vest. In their own little Aperture colors. Izuku's having a freaking field trip with this. He's having so much fun. Because, he's getting to he's getting to experiment with what works and what doesn't work a lot today. And, well, basically, yeah. Pretty much the Jonin vest that Izuku made for whoever's going to be the Jonin sensei is basically a very monochrome, like, laboratory, like, basically a, like, scientist coat type color version of the Hidden Leaf Jonin vest. It's basically like the Hidden Leaf Jonin vest, but in, like, monochrome, like, scientist lab coat colors. And it has, like, the symbol instead of, like, the hidden leaf or whatever village. It has, like, that same symbol of their headband on. You know, the little swirly portal symbol. It's like swirl, swirl. Squirrel, squirrel. I love the movie Up. It's freaking amazing. And so now it just has to be decided who's the Jonin Sensei gonna be. And seeing as Izuku's been the one having the most of a field day with the entire thing, Tenko, Mineta, and even Hinata, unanimous vote, all think that it would be a good idea to have the person who's the most invested in this, that's not one of them, you know, be the Jonin Sensei. Technically, he does have a redonkulously strong quirk that could save their asses if it ever got into a bind. You know? And Izuku's just like, that's actually very good logic. Okay, I will be your Jonin Sensei. I'm gonna say the really only jarring things that happen are, well, basically, Neji, whenever he sees Hinata after so long, he's gonna be like, where the hell have you been? He'd be like, extra pissed. And, you know, Hinata wouldn't even give a shit, she'd just be wanting to find Naruto. And, you know, she wouldn't even know that was his name. Like, it would just be like, she would just want to know where he was, like, so that she could properly thank him and know his name. And, actually, she does this successfully. However, this does indeed create another problem. A sort of cat fight, not necessarily in between girls, but in between boys on, you know, who gets that. You know, Naruto cat fighting with Hinata's own partner. No, not Mineta. You guys must think I'm way too generic. Which means it would be Tenko. Yes. But technically Naruto's the one who actually starts the fire. You know, making presumptions like no other. Buddy and their mother. And Tenko, well, after the life he's lived so far, he would not be having this bullshit. You know. So, yeah. Oh, boy. This does not look good. But, basically, Naruto by now knows the multi-shadow clone jutsu, and he thinks that because of the fact that he can basically copy-paste the hell out of himself everywhere, that Tenko wouldn't be able to defeat him. And this is where he is wrong. Heavily wrong, because Naruto goes to attack all the different clones, and this is whenever they realize that he just exploded into sand. And after that, you just hear Sand Sword. And there's like shoom, like boom, 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 boom. And then there's only the real Naruto left. And Shigaraki's just like, oh, you don't want the rest of me. And Naruto would just be like, oh yeah? And Naruto would basically create a shadow clone, have that shadow clone basically throw him at Shigaraki with a fist out. They're like basically flying towards him. And it would hit, but then that would explode into sand. And then he would just hear again, Sand Sword. And like, shing, bam, like right into a wall. Yeah, Naruto would have just gotten wasted. And Sasuke would be like, nah, Naruto, you're such a loser. And, Tenko would be like, he was just now having a cat fight with Naruto over, like, Hinata. But, he would not be having this behavior. Like, hell no. I mean, that's the kind of behavior, this little thing we like to call a douchebag. Also known as the angsty douchebag. A very special breed of douchebag. The angsty douchebag. But instead of, him actually getting to do anything, Hinata actually, is like, you want to say that to his face? Then come down here and say it. And, Tenko just now realized, how the hell did Hinata get down here so fast? Oh yeah, that's right. We all kind of learned the Shinshin thing. How to just be like, appear out of nowhere. That's what the ninjas call the Shinshin. Or like body flicker, or whatever the hell they call it. Basically, Hinata just pulled that off, but like a 360 version. Where she just like twirled around like freaking Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman! And, she just lands in a really extra sexy pose. It's kind of hard for both of them, like Tenko and Naruto, to not want her. Like, with her doing all this sexy pose shit. And Sasuke's just like, get out of my way, woman. And Hinata's just like, how about no? And that's whenever Sasuke would just be like, you have no idea what a mistake you just made. And, Sasuke would go to, like a kick. And a kick would, explode everything into string. Or at least, there would be kind of like a revealing that all of the skin that was once thought to be there was string, and then everything would explode. And that's whenever you would hear, that's my Black Knight. You don't stand a chance. Why use regular clones or shadow clones whenever you can use string clones? Basically, Hinata's, basically bent down on her knees. More or less like hunched down, not really bent down. She's not on her knees. She's more like crouched. Not really hunched, crouched, I guess. Yeah, crouched on her knees. And, and the reason why this, because she'd basically be like, and touch. And Tenko would know what this means. He would just grab up Naruto and run for the hills. Because next thing that Sasuke knows, the entire floor is now string. And, freaking everything is trying to attack him. Even the walls are string. And Sasuke's like, what the? It's like, Katon, fireball jutsu. And, basically the fireball jutsu. But whenever Sasuke, notices, like, everything, basically, Hinata's already shunned away. With a little paper note, and Sasuke picks it up as the ground returns to normal without Hinata being there. It returns to normal. Sasuke reads the note, and it reads, amateur. Like, an amateur is you. And Sasuke is just like, and it just like, at the very bottom, it's like, signed Hinata Hyuga. And Sasuke is not too happy. It's safe to say that. But, now, we have everything else. Sasuke really isn't all that hindered by a curse mark because no forest of death. To really select fights for Hinata and, Tenko and Mineta to be going through, well, I think the best thing was just to have, like, the most unsuspecting of actual people to actually be able to put up fights against each other, to actually fight each other. Instead of, like, Dosu fighting Choji, it would be Mineta fighting Choji. And Choji would go for the human boulder, like expansion jutsu, the human boulder. Like Akamichi clan, expansion jutsu, human boulder! And he would just go straight towards Mineta, and Mineta would be like, yeah, that's right. Playing right into my trap. Because Mineta knows what's about to happen, because he basically is able to read Choji's mind from the moment they both step in the ring. Not really a ring, more like a platform. But basically from the moment they lock eyes with each other, Mineta's able to read Choji like a book. Tell everything that he's about to do, and how to perfectly counteract it. In the meanest way possible. Basically, Choji's thinking that he's going to trick Mineta up by basically going up into the air and then slamming down instead of just like going bowling style, like ramming into him. He's going to slam down into him from, the air. He's going to pull that trick. But that's the thing. Mineta read Choji like a book through, like, basically eye-to-eye contact. So, he already knows this. And so, basically, Mineta is just like, he enters his pop-off quirk, and people begin to realize, people back in the stands begin to realize Choji's pop-off, or like whatever the other people think it is actually hardening and maybe even like getting pointy. Almost like freaking tiny little spearheads. Basically like tiny little spike heads. But, the area around where they are also feels a little bit of a chill has grown out of nowhere. That's because Choji is charging up ice mana to basically turn his pop-offs into little icicles. You know, the sickles would basically, right as soon as the human boulder ran into him, it would basically flatten Choji out and send him back in a different direction all the way into the wall, basically pinning him with the points of the sickles onto the wall, sticking Choji there, like pinning him there. And with him not really able to do much of anything, well, Choji tries the expansion jutsu human boulder again, basically flings all the ice off, but you know, Mineta knows everything that he's going to do, and so basically like, ole! Like, just dodges it, and he rams straight into a wall, knocking Choji out completely. Mineta literally knew everything that Choji was going to do, and a way to counter it. So much it was literally like freaking sad. Some people even tried to shield their eyes with like their hands or like arm, just you know, like, or like turn their heads away because they couldn't watch. It was too painful for even them, and they weren't even the one fighting. And so the next big thing would be, well, the next big thing, Tenko's match. Because I'm saving Hinata's, you know, shit for like the good shit. But, you know, there's still gonna be some goods here with Tenko. Because Tenko has all sorts of shit. He can't even be physically damaged. Like whenever Naruto was trying to hit him, he just burst into sand. Basically, it would be Tenko versus Gaara. Yes, Tenko versus Gaara. Why that? Because, boy oh boy, if you think that Gaara's just gonna pull some shit and beat Tenko, you're sorely mistaken, dear viewers. You are sorely mistaken. You know, pull some shit out of his ass and beat Tenko out at random. Yeah, you are sorely mistaken. Basically, Gaara can manipulate sand, but Tenko literally is sand. Like, he is the sand. The Gaara can manipulate sand, but Tenko is the sand. So, yeah. That's gonna be hard to deal with. Tenko basically going up to Gaara right before they actually start the fight and just telling him, you know, there's no shame in backing off now. I mean, come on. At least that'd be the smart thing to do. And, you know, far off in the distance, you'd just be able to hear, oh, like so much triggered. So much triggered. And Gaara's like, no, I will never back away. I must prove my existence. And Tenko's like, yep. Yeah, we got one. We got some crazies up in here. We got some crazies. And Gaara basically, you know, wait for Tenko to attack him, so Tenko would greatly oblige. You know? Basically throw him in some shit like, he'd basically be like, Gear Segundo! Gomu Gomu no! Not really that, it would be like, instead of that, it would be like, Gear Segundo! Suno Suno no! Suno Bullet! Boom! Yes, a sand bullet. But formed like in like the shape of a punch. So it would basically break through the sand armor. And you know, Gaara would be falling to pieces everywhere. He would be like, this guy is not right. There is something wrong here. There is something wrong with this picture. It does not compute. Like, Gaara.exe has stopped responding. Yeah. Gaara would not be taking this very well. And as a result of just getting manhandled, Gaara would get extremely pissed. So much so that it would literally be like whenever Sasuke fought Gaara. It would be that bad that he would literally go freaking into the dome thing. But, you know, anytime anything would go to, like, pierce through Tenko, you know, Gaara, instead of his little thing that, like, had, like, a little eye, and so he could, like, see everywhere at once, would realize every time, like, it basically tried to pierce through Tenko's flesh, it would just all just turn into sand. And basically, Tenko, as Gaara was transforming, would explain something to him. You don't get it, do you? You see, for the fact of everything that you live in this supposed sand village, you don't seem to know a lot about how sand works whenever you have a power like mine. Suna no mi. You see, you can manipulate the sand, but you see, Gaara, I am the sand. And this would push Gaara over the edge, realizing that his sand power is weaker than this guy's sand power. Because, you know, he's even beyond sand manipulation. He is the sand manipulation. And even more. So Gaara just, like, inferiority complex be damned. Just absolutely loses his shit. Like, you know, that would be, like, not good. And, you know, finally the transformation becoming complete. Its final hours, he'd be in the half Shikaku form. And he'd try to do some Sanshuriken. I really like the sound effect that they make in the anime. Like the Sanshuriken. Sound like freaking rocket launcher rounds. But, you know, I think he kinda ignored Shigaraki's, you know, Tenko's little statement there earlier. You know, like, as the sand shuriken would glide by, basically heading into Tenko, there'd be a problem that Gaara, even in this mentally warped state, would begin to realize. He was not effing with him. He is sand. It's literally going all the way through him and out to the other side. So the Proctor's trying to, like, dodge the hell out of the sand shuriken all the way because it's basically just going straight through Tenko and out to the other side of the arena. So Gaara just coming to grips with the fact that he can't hurt this guy in normal means. He has to get physical with this random ass Joe. But that's the problem. Whenever Gaara lunges over like a big whoosh to like try to Roman Reigns Superman punch him. You know, punch Tenko in the schnoz. Like, Tenko's like really just tired of playing games with this, you know, big ol' pile of suck that calls himself Gara of the Desert. That's basically what he considers Gara, a big old pile of suck. Right about now. He's tired of playing games with this guy. And so, right as soon as it's about to hit, and it's just, Red Hawk! Boom! And automatically, once the smoke is cleared, you just see an unconscious Gara. And Tenko is declared the winner. Because he went in all the way into Gear 3. Right, basically, the only thing you would have heard before Red Hawk is Gear, like, whatever 3 is in Japanese. Because I know Gear Segundo, but I'm not really sure on the whole, what 3 would have been. So, basically, he just goes into Gear 3 at the last moment, and then prepares the Red Hawk. Basically, just right as Gara's within punching range. He just lays into him with a Gear 3 level rare hawk, like a Gear 3 level Red Hawk, right into the face. And you know, Gara is just out. Like, he can't even talk to his siblings. He's just like, he be sleep basically. Gara be sleep. And you guys might be wondering, Mineta fought Choji, and you know, Tenko fought Gara. Who's Hinata going to fight? Well, I'm definitely going to tell you guys it's going to end a lot different than in the anime, because Hinata is actually going to humiliate Neji on so many different levels. Yeah, that's right. Hinata versus Neji. Hinata just mops the floor. No contest. Neji tries to make it a contest, but not doing too good. Because Hinata still does remember the way things... Yeah, she isn't liking this too much. So she's ending it cruelly in her own way. And, you know, she's just right about to finish it. Basically, 16 heavenly bullets, God Thread, versus Neji's 8 trigrams rotation. You know, them going up against each other, like the bullets versus the rotation. And, you know, there's just a big explosion with Neji basically being sent flying, and Hinata basically being implanted into the ground, but not really hurt all that much, because the Hinata that was implanted into the ground was actually a Black Knight version of Hinata. It basically explodes into string. And basically, whenever Neji gets up, there's like, basically, here's a voice. This is checkmate. Neji. He hears it right behind him, and he just turns around and sees Hinata. And he's like, what? Like, Nani? Nani the fuck? Yeah. Basically, Neji would have still been conscious, but, you know, Hinata at this point knows that, you know, she still has plenty of aces left in her sleeves, And there's plenty of aces. Well, something, a little attack, but she's wondering, would it really be like a good like showing of like actually the whole problem is she doesn't want to kill Neji. Like she doesn't like Neji, but she doesn't want to kill him. And she doesn't know if she has enough control as to this attack, this last attack, if it will kill him or not. If she has enough to control to keep it from killing him. But, she just sucks it up and takes a chance because there is no way in hell that after going this far, like doing all this, she is going to lose to this guy. You're not as, like, basically stuck it in her little brain hole that there is no way in hell she is losing to this guy. If he couldn't even get his head wrapped around String World, her Devil Fruit Awakening power, String World, the most basic version of her Devil Fruit Awakening, and the most basic premise around it, basically, like the most basic part of it being String World. If he couldn't even get his head wrapped around that, then in her mind, he doesn't deserve to even get close to winning this. And so she just like, she's like, you made this happen, Neji. You could have just lied down in defeat after I hit you with 16 heavenly bullets. But no, you just had to, be you. One of these days you're gonna look back on this and realize just how stupid you were. At least I hope so. Anyways, enough about you. Now let's get to finishing this whole little squabble with you. In other words, she just basically pulls out 3 different swords. Yoru, Kusanagi, and Tetsusaiga. And she just basically, Yoru and Kusanagi are the one she has in her hands, and the one she has in her mouth is Tetsusaiga. Which, indeed, I do indeed believe that whenever Inuyasha was fighting his brother, they did say something about, their father's, one of his teeth being how the sword was made, or something like that. So basically, Tetsusaiga in the mouth, and Yoru and Kusanagi in the hands. Yoru in the left, Kusanagi in the right. And basically, all that Neji and anyone else in the, area would be able to hear, basically, Izuku would grin at the very last second because he would know what this was. He'd be like, with that look in her eyes, with that look in Hinata's eyes, he's like, yeah, she's basically finally gotten enough ovaries to suck it up and take the chance. That's my Hinata Hyuga. That's my Hinata Hyuga. So, yeah. Basically, what would have been heard was lion strike, and then just ching. And the moment everything was cleared, basically, Neji would just be asleep and like blood everywhere. And you know, all three of the different blades, yoru, kusanagi, and tetsusaiga, would be in their different sheaths, put away, you know. And Hinata would just be like, that's what happens whenever you mess with the wrong girl, Neji. And basically, Hinata, you know, the proctor would, you know, do this in a little bit of a shaky voice because, you know, he kind of was absolutely terrified by what just happened. But, you know, he'd still say, be like, the winner is Hinata Hyuga. And then Tenko would just jump over the freaking railing and all the way down there, run up to Hinata, and Hinata would know what he was about to do. And, you know, they would just fist bump. And Mineta would be like, well, they are definitely indeed an item. Too bad, so sad for that Naruto kid. Tenko looks like he's got Hinata in a very deep strengthhold. And he's just looking at Mineta like, what? Really, man? Really? And then Mineta would just look around for a little bit, and he would find someone, and he would just be like, well, don't act like you're not, you know, happy to see some of the Jonin here, like the other Jonin. Happy to see him. And Izuku would be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And, you know, Mineta would just be like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And he would kind of nudge him in the direction of a certain someone. A certain, you know, a certain someone who definitely did indeed look like she means business. And, you know, whenever Izuku was nudged in that direction, he'd be like, and Mineta would just be like, man, don't go in too hard, too fast. You know, you're so happy to see her part might explode the load, if you know what I mean. And Izuku would just be like, what? I don't even think I'm her age range. Mineta. And then, you know, the person would just look over there like, wait, you talking about me? I don't think we've, you know, really introduced ourselves. And Izuku would be like, I hate you, Mineta. He'd just be like internally screaming in his head, I fucking hate you, Mineta. And the person would just introduce themselves as like, I'm Anka Mitarashi. And Izuku would be like, damn, she's cute both ways. She's cute, like, freaking appearance-wise, and she's cute, you know, she's got a really cute name. And Mineta's like, man, you really look happy to see certain someone. And Izuku would just be like, I will kill you one of these days. You know that. You little gray-haired midget. You little gray-haired mana-using midget. And Mitarashi, like, Anko would just be like, that's hilarious. And he's gonna be like, here it is. Okay. What's your deal? And Anko would explain how, back whenever they did have a Forest of Death, she was basically the proctor for that part of the entire tuning thing. But seeing as there's still so many of all of them left, they're going to indeed need to do finals. Izuku's like, true, understandable. So, how long till finals? So I can tell Tenko and Mineta and Hinata basically what things are going to be like until, when and everything. And Anko would just be like, well, basically, I got you a card. And she just gave Izuku a little card, basically showing the time that everything was going to be happening. And Izuku would just be like, okay then. Oh, and I believe you're Izuku Midoriya, like you said. Oh, Izuku. Come here, you. And she just pull him in, and Izuku would be like, wait, what? What's going on? Mineta, I think I'm getting way too happy to see her. Way too happy to see her. Feel good. And Mineta's like, oh my god, I think it really is going to explode. Its load. Oh god, everybody take cover, get your umbrellas. And, the next thing that would be seen, basically, Hinata still feeling like she's got a little bit of pep in her step. And plus, basically, being a lot more outgoing than, Kan and Hinata around this time. Actually having a very explosive personality, but in, most if not all the right ways that a person can have an explosive personality. And in one of these ways, she shows by literally, being like, hey, Tenko, look, I got a camera. And Tenko's like, well, I know you have a camera. We literally live, in the same room. We pretty much bunk. I mean, really, do you really think I wouldn't notice that you had a camera? And why is that important? And Hinata would just be like, look over there. It's Sensei and some other lady. Oh, shit, come on. Wake up. And the camera would finally, be all set up. And Tenko would be like, oh, shit. Me, fuck. And then you would just hear click. And basically, Izuku would have been so just. There wouldn't even be anything. It would just be Izuku being in this. he wouldn't even know where he was. And, Hanko would just be like, wow, do I really have that kind of effect? Wait, what am I feeling? And then she would remember Mineta saying something about being really happy to see her. And then she would realize what Izuku's certain area was doing very close to her certain area. I mean, they aren't exactly not clothed, but they are indeed clothed, but it's still there. And, well, Anko now, she's over Cloud 9 and, hey diddle cat and the fiddle and cow jump over the moon all over the place. She's in that way too. Like, they both conjoined, and now it's just like, they just digivolved into a whole nother situation of awkward. And, well, it's like Izuku and Anko really wouldn't even realize that they just got a picture taken of them, like, some motion. Basically Anko would be like tapping on Izuku's shoulder a little bit, and Izuku would, just be like out of his stupor, enough, basically, be like, hey, I kind of figured out where you guys, do your whole thing, and I think I might have a spare suit, and, Izuku's like, what do you imply? Oh, wait, what are you implying? Like, seriously, I'm being serious. And Uncle would be like, ugh, we're all men on this dance. I'm basically asking, do you want to do it later tonight? And basically, Hinata would be like, like, just, like, be back there with Tanko. And Mineta, at this point, he would just, like, skyrocketed backwards all the way into a wall with a nosebleed. And Tanko, he'd just be like, Sensei, you are the luckiest man alive. And just like, you're telling me? Our Sensei is indeed truly the luckiest man alive. Because basically, he's both Tanko and Hinata Sensei, pretty much. Like, actually, in this and in, like, the whole, thing. Like, basically just teaching them in general. Like, where do you think she learned how to do such a perfect mastery of, doing the whole lion strike without killing Neji? I mean, he's pretty much, like, banged up. Very bad, but, at least not dead. Like, right, guys? At least not dead. Where do you think she learned how to make that possible? Like, that a possibility. Basically, they're like, their master is the most luckiest man alive. I mean, he got a keeper. He didn't just get a keeper, he got a cougar keeper. And Mineta is just like, the saying, paint the town red? He's basically painting the entire inside of the building that they're in red. With his blood out of his nose. Yeah. But basically, when everybody was all, like, everything got settled, done, and over with, Naruto would actually ask if he could, come and stay. Izuku would indeed make a rule that later on tonight, whenever Miss Midarashi came, because, they did indeed decide to make plans for that, that they would, all three of them, Tenko, Hinata, all three of them would have to stay in their room, and Naruto, included, because as big as the Aperture Science building is, they have the ability to store a lot of stuff, so they just get an extra thing for Naruto to, whatever. Or if Hinata, feels like, well, really, if she felt like cuddling anybody, it would be Tenko, because we're already establishing more of a thing with Tenko than Naruto. But Naruto, still wants to be friends at least. He wants to establish that. He at least wants to have a friendly bond. Though, the ground rules have indeed been laid down. Once she gets here, once this Midarashi gets here, and, they go into their room, and things, start powering down, that's whenever you three don't go out for anything. Stay in your rooms. And so, yeah, basically, they're all like, yes, Izuku-sensei. Even Naruto says that. So, yeah, like, yes, Izuku-sensei. And Kakashi would be over there and he'd be like, man, that guy really knows how to command authority. On people's asses. And basically, it would eventually come time, and not too long after Naruto would have to step through the door, with his own little suit. Because, right about now, after hearing Anko mention something like that, he's like, he'll find a way to get himself a suit. And he did. So, yeah. Right around the time that Anko gets there is, well, right around the time one of them gets there is right around the time the other one gets there. So actually, they decide to have dinner. Like, all of them. Pretty much a big old family dinner with friends added in. And of course, they gotta say grace before they eat. It's only polite. To our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Or whatever religion you guys out there believe in. Or if you're atheists, that's okay too. I mean, I would consider it perfectly normal for atheists to not really feel like saying grace. I mean, if you're an atheist, you don't really believe in, that. So, why would you say grace if you were an atheist? But, that's just the thing. Money, politics, and religion are all three roots of evil. At least that's something I believe. That money, politics, and religion, all three roots of evil. Undisputed. My true belief that that's the case, and will always be the case, as long as those things exist. Yeah. Well, basically, after, everybody's had dinner, Izuku just gives them all a look, and Naruto's like, guys, he's giving us the look. And Tenko and Hinata would be like, shit. Like, okay, we're going. Izuku-sensei, we're going. They all, basically are forced to stay in their rooms. Well, You know, Izuku very politely escorts Anko, you know, back to I guess you could say, the captain's quarters. And, oh, yeah, that's right, guys. You know it. Oh, radio, Anko is the ship. Anko Midarashi's the ship. Oh, radio. Woo, 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 you know it. Oh, radio. Anko Midarashi's the ship. Izu Anko. I figured out the perfect name. Izu Anko. Yes, guys, that's right. We're doing an Izu Anko. I mean, really. What? What? What else? What else could we better end this off with than some mad studying in the captain's quarters? Captain's quarters doing some mad study. Just that, good old studying, 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 and stop. And more studying, more studying, more studying, more studying, and more studying. Yes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, radio! The Dark Shadow Maverick is out of here.